Hold your breath, princess, Rowan whispered, his voice barely louder than the wind creeping through the marble corridor. Someone is listening. The torches flickered, casting thin gold shadows across pale gown. She clutched her folded letter, words she had rehearsed for days, words meant to keep him close. But Rowan's gaze had already drifted toward the darkness. And in that darkness, something moved with a quiet, unnatural rhythm. Before fear could steady her breath, Rowan stepped back, distancing himself as though her presence carried danger he could not name. His throat tightened. She was 19, heir to a throne she never wanted, and yet the only thing slipping away from her now was the one person who had ever spoken to her without bowing first. "Rowan, please," she whispered, but her plea dissolved into the cold corridor. What she didn't know, what no one in the palace dared speak aloud, was that Rowan had just returned from the northern watchtower with news so grave it hollowed the courage inside him. A whispering storm had awakened beyond the mountain border, bending trees in unnatural spirals and silencing entire valleys. And in its wake, the symbol carved on its birth pendant had appeared scorched into stone. But Rowan said nothing of this, not yet. He stared at her letter, at the trembling hands she tried to still, and something inside him fractured. "There isn't time," he murmured, though he wished more than anything there were. A distant horn sounded, 3 long notes, sharp and trembling, the signal of a breach, the signal of something approaching the castle far sooner than predicted. Stepped toward him, heart pounding against the walls of her chest. "Tell me what's wrong," she pleaded. Rowan's jaw tightened, but he didn't retreat this time. He looked at her as though memorizing every freckle before the world changed. "Your words can't hold me now," he said softly. "Not when the storm is calling your name." Froze, the echo of his declaration lodging itself deep within her ribs. Outside, the castle trembled. The whispering wind carried a pulse, soft, rhythmic, and terribly alive. Torches hissed as though reacting to an unseen presence, felt the corridor darken around them though no cloud passed overhead. Rowan took her arm, not gently but urgently. "We have minutes, maybe less," he warned. "If we stay, it will find you." She swallowed her fear, though it rose like a tide determined to claim her voice. She wanted to ask how he knew these things, how he could speak with such certainty, but his expression silenced her. He had seen something that stripped the color from his courage, and now it hunted her. "Rowan," her voice cracked. He shook his head. "Don't ask, not yet." The floor beneath them shuddered, dust drifting like pale snow. Time was slipping through their fingers faster than truth. With a final glance toward the darkening corridor, Rowan released her arm and stepped away, farther than she expected, farther than she could bear. Her letter slipped from her hand, landing soundlessly on the stone. "Rowan," she called, but he didn't look back. He only said, "Run to the west tower, don't stop." And then he vanished into the shadows, the storm's whisper rising like a warning meant only for her. Stood alone, breath trembling, heart echoing the rhythm of the distant storm. She didn't yet understand what hunted her or why Rowan believed she was its target. But she did know one thing: whatever had carved her pendant symbol into stone had now crossed the mountain border, and it was coming for her. She gathered her skirts, steadied her pulse, and ran, each step marking the beginning of a fate she never asked for. And the castle seemed to hold its breath as she fled. His footsteps pounded against the winding stair of the west tower, each step echoing in a trembling rhythm that matched her racing heartbeat. "Rowan, why wouldn't you look back?" she whispered to herself, but the tower swallowed her words whole. The higher she climbed, the colder the air became, as though something above was drawing warmth out of the stone itself. Halfway up, a faint hum drifted through the walls, soft at first, almost musical, then sharper, like thousands of tiny voices breathing in unison. Froze, hand gripping the railing. "Not wind," she murmured. This sound pulsed, rising and falling like a living heartbeat, and it was getting closer. She hurried up the remaining steps. When she reached the tower's observatory, the world stretched before her in silver twilight. But the beauty was shattered by the sight beyond the mountains, an enormous wall of swirling mist, bending the tree line as if the forest were bowing to its presence. The storm Rowan had spoken of. It wasn't merely approaching, it was alive. "Princess." She spun around, startled, only to find Master, the court astronomer, standing by the great telescope. His gray robes fluttered as though stirred by an unseen breeze. His eyes, usually warm, now carried the dull weight of a man expecting a truth he feared. "You felt it, didn't you?" he asked quietly. Nodded, unsure. "There's something in the mist." stepped toward her, placing a trembling hand on the cold stone ledge. It's not mist. It is a calling, a force older than any crown in this kingdom. He paused, breath shaking. And it's searching specifically for you. Felt the tower tilt slightly, as if her world were shifting in slow motion. Why me? I've done nothing. Hesitated. That is what troubles me. You were born marked by a symbol no one understood. For 19 years it lay silent, dormant. But Rowan brought word this morning. The same mark has appeared again, scorched into stone, as though awakened. Stepped back, her pendant pressing cold against her chest. Rowan knew. He knew enough to fear, answered. He saw the mark glowing in the mountains at dawn. Her voice cracked. Then why did he walk away from me? Because he believes staying near you might draw the calling closer, said gently. He thinks distance will protect you. The words cut deeper than she expected. Rowan, always fierce in loyalty, now fleeing from her as though she were a lantern attracting fire. She pressed her palm against her chest, trying to steady the tremor. But I don't want distance, she whispered. Not from him. Before could respond, a sharp crack split the air. The tower shook. The hum returned, louder, stronger, vibrating through the stone walls. Then heard it clearly for the first time, a whisper layered beneath the storm's pulse. What? The voice wasn't loud. It was delicate, almost sorrowful, yet it carried a power that made her bones tremble. His face drained of color. It's here. Shadows thickened along the tower's base, twisting like smoke but moving with intent. Stepped back instinctively. The whisper repeated, closer now. It come. No, she breathed. She braced against the railing, fear tightening every muscle. A sudden gust slammed against the tower, nearly knocking her off balance. Grabbed her arm. We must delay it. You must not answer the call. Do you hear me? Not a word. Nodded, though her instinct begged her to respond, to ask who, or what, knew her name in such a mournful voice. Another crack. A fissure split across the stone floor, glowing faintly with the same symbol etched on her pendant. The light pulsed as though syncing with her heartbeat. Eyes widened. It's linking to you. Then the tower door burst open. Rowan staggered inside, breathless, cloak torn, face pale with urgency. He shouted. She had never been more relieved to hear his voice. But Rowan didn't smile, his eyes locked on the glowing fissure. We're out of time, he said. It knows exactly where you are. Swallowed hard, her world, once defined by quiet halls and gentle lessons, had collapsed in moments. But Rowan's presence steadied her. Even if he had walked away before, he had come back. And now the storm wanted her more than ever. Rowan slammed the door behind him, bolting it with a force that made the wood groan. The glowing fissure pulsed again, bright enough to cast trembling shadows across his face. He looked as though he had run through the entire kingdom to reach her, yet the fear in his eyes wasn't for himself. It was for her. Step away from the light, Rowan said, voice low and tense. She obeyed, moving behind him, though her gaze remained locked on the mark pulsing beneath the stone. It called my name, she whispered. I know. Rowan gripped the hilt of his blade as the humming grew louder. It's getting stronger, faster than we expected. Stepped forward, steadying himself with his staff. Princess, listen carefully, he said, though his voice wavered. That fissure, it's a tether. It links the calling to you. Destroying the stone is impossible, but breaking its connection, that requires something else. Rowan turned, tension sharp in his posture. Not here, not now. Glance between them. Tell me, both of you, no more secrets. The storm outside roared suddenly, as though urging them closer to truth. Rowan exchanged a reluctant look with, then exhaled sharply. Your pendant, he said. It's not merely a symbol, it's a seal. A seal. Her hand flew to the pendant, cold as winter against her skin. Nodded. Your mother left it upon your cradle. It was meant to keep the calling asleep, but something has shattered that sleep. And now it wants the one who carries the seal, Rowan said darkly. Another whisper seeped through the walls, soft, echoing, unbearably familiar. What? This time, Rowan stepped in front of her fully, blocking her view of the glowing fissure. Don't answer, he said again, no matter what it sounds like. His throat tightened. It sounded like someone you knew, finished gently. The calling mimics memory, emotion, sometimes even lost voices. Don't believe anything it tells you. The fissure widened with a sharp crack that sent dust raining from the ceiling. Rowan grabbed hand. We have to leave now. But where? She asked. To the inner vault, said. Below the palace, it's the only place shielded from ancient forces. They ran before the fissure could widen further. Rowan kept close, guiding her down the spiraling tower staircase. The hum followed them, vibrating the stone, crawling through the air, growing hungrier with every breath they took. Halfway down, the torches blew out, plunging the stairwell into darkness. Rowan, I can't see, gasped. I have you, he said quickly. His hand tightened around hers. Just keep moving. Struck flint, igniting a small flame that revealed swirling shadows crawling along the walls. Shadows that weren't cast by anything visible. Shivered, it's inside the tower. Yes, whispered. The calling can slip through stone when awakened. We must hurry. They reached the tower base, the door hanging off its hinges as though struck by an unseen force. Rowan guided through the corridor, but she stopped abruptly. Rowan, she tugged his sleeve, pointing to the far wall. There, etched freshly into the marble, was a sentence glowing faintly in the same light as the fissure. Come home, Elara. Her breath vanished. His voice cracked. It's already learning her name. Rowan stepped in front of her again. Don't look at it. But she already had. The glow dimmed, as though reacting to her attention. A soft, echoing sigh drifted through the corridor. You are not alone. The voice was so gentle, so sorrow-filled, that tears pricked her eyes. Something inside her, a memory she had never fully understood, stirred painfully. Rowan cupped her shoulders. Listen to me. His voice trembled with urgency. It's lying. Whatever it shows you, whatever you hear, it's not real. Do not let it inside your thoughts. She nodded, but the ache in her chest didn't fade. Gestured forward. We must reach the vault before it manifests fully. Rowan led them again, pushing through the corridor, but the castle was changing around them. The walls pulsed faintly, as though the entire palace was breathing with the storm outside. Curtains swayed without breeze. Shadows elongated unnaturally, crawling towards feet like reaching hands. They reached the grand hall just as a thunderous crack shook the earth. A wind surged through the hall, cold, sharp, and whispering her name. What? Rowan drew his blade. It's here. And realized with chilling clarity. The storm wanted more than her name. It wanted her. The great hall groaned as if the stones themselves remembered something ancient, something they feared. Clutched Rowan's sleeve as the cold wind spiraled around them, gathering in the center of the room. Torches flickered violently. Windows trembled in their frames. And from the swirling gust came that voice again, soft, persistent, mournfully patient. Come. Rowan stepped in front of her, blade drawn, shoulders tense as bowstrings. Stay behind me, he ordered. His voice echoed weakly from the doorway. The vault is close, don't let it separate us. But the wind answering him carried a sound that didn't belong to weather at all. A faint, chiming resonance, like the echo of crystal bells submerged underwater. His breath hitched. That sound tugged at something deep in her memory, something she had carried since childhood but never understood. Rowan felt her hesitate. Don't listen to it, he said sharply. I'm not trying to, she whispered back, but it knows something I don't. The swirling wind thickened, forming a shape vague and shifting like a figure glimpsed through frost. It leaned forward and stepped back instinctively. Rowan raised his blade. The shape whispered again, now gentler, almost pleading. You left me. His eyes widened. What? I don't know you. The voice softened to a trembling murmur. But I know you. Rowan shot a desperate look at. We have to move now. Nodded, pushing forward with his staff raised. Princess, stay between us. Do not answer it again. They hurried across the hall, but the entity followed, its presence brushing against senses like cold fingertips trailing along her thoughts. She shivered, clutching Rowan's arm. He didn't pull away. Suddenly the wind ceased. The hall fell silent, too silent. Even Rowan hesitated, confused by the sudden stillness. He whispered, "Stay alert." The chandeliers above them flickered once, twice. Then the floor beneath their feet fractured with a thunderous crack. A rift split across the stones, glowing with the same symbol that lived on her pendant. Staggered backward, barely caught by Rowan's quick grip. Beneath the crack, shimmering light pulsed like a heartbeat. A soft whisper rose from the rift, this time closer, almost beside her ear. "You are mine." Jolted, heart stuttering painfully. "Stop," she gasped. "Stop saying that." Rowan tightened his arm protectively around her shoulders. "It doesn't own you," he growled. "Whatever it is, it won't touch you." Another pulse of light surged upward, sending a rippling wave through the hall. The force threw to one knee and nearly tore from Rowan's grasp. "Hold on." Rowan pulled her close, shielding her from the blast. The voice grew stronger, layered with emotion she couldn't decipher, sorrow, longing, and something darker beneath. "I have waited 19 years. Do not run from me." His breath caught. 19, princess, your birth." But he didn't finish. Because at that moment, the rift snapped shut, leaving only a faint scorch mark across the floor. The breeze died. The hall stilled. Silence pressed down like a heavy cloak. Rowan stood rigid, arms still around her, breathing hard. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, though her pulse raced wildly. "No, but it sounded like it knew me before I ever existed." Approached slowly, eyes on the scorched mark. "Princess," he said softly, "I fear this calling is not merely seeking you." He lifted his gaze to hers, voice trembling. "It may have been bound to you since birth." Felt the world tilt beneath her. Bound by whom? Hesitated, just long enough to confirm her worst fear. "By your mother's." Rowan stiffened. "What does that mean?" Looked toward the sealed throne room doors, toward the place where the late queen's secrets had always lived. "It means," he whispered, "that your mother knew this day would come, and she prepared for it." A distant rumble echoed through the castle walls, a reminder the storm had not retreated. Steadied her breath. "Then we go to the throne room," she said, surprised by the strength in her own voice. "If she left answers, we find them." Rowan nodded slowly, determination settling in his eyes. "Then I walk with you, no matter what comes." And though felt fear coil in her chest, a spark of courage burned through it. For the first time since the whispers began, she felt she wasn't running. She was facing it. The corridor leading to the throne room stretched before them like a silent, waiting witness. Every torch flickered low, their flames bending as if bowing away from what lay ahead. Walked between Rowan and her steps measured though her pulse raced, as if urging her to run the opposite direction. Rowan noticed the tremor in her hands and shifted closer, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the steadiness in his presence. "Whatever answers wait in that room," he said softly, "you won't face them alone." Nodded, drawing strength from the quiet certainty in his voice. Reached the twin golden doors first. Symbols had been carved into the metal, ancient sigils her mother once told her were decorative. Now, under the shifting torchlight, the symbols seemed to pulse with faint, hidden life. Placed his shaking fingers along the seam of the doors. "Your mother sealed these before her final breath," he whispered. "Only her bloodline can open them." Inhaled slowly. The thought of touching something her mother had sealed with such intention made her chest tighten. She lifted her hand, resting her palm against the cold metal. The sigils brightened immediately. Rowan stepped back in surprise as the carvings lit up one by one, gold, silver, then a cold sapphire blue that hummed low in the stone beneath their feet. The doors shifted with a heavy groan, opening into darkness. No torches inside, no guards, only silence. Rowan murmured, "Stay behind me," but stepped through first. The room opened into a vast chamber filled with soft, shimmering dust floating in the air. The scent of lavender lingered, her mother's favorite, and for a moment felt a pang sharp enough to steal her breath. Moonlight spilled through the high windows, illuminating the throne. But what drew them forward was not the throne at all. It was the pedestal before it, a crystal stand holding a single, weathered book bound in white leather. Gasped her chronicle, approached slowly, heart beating hard against her ribs. "My mother kept no diary," she whispered. "She didn't," said, "not publicly." Rowan circled the pedestal, eyes scanning the dim edges of the chamber. "If she hid this," he murmured, "it's because she didn't want anyone else reading it." Hesitated, then reached out and opened the book. Dust lifted from the pages like a breath released after years of silence. Her mother's handwriting, delicate, flowing, spread across the first page. "To my daughter, the one the calling seeks. If you are reading this, the seal has broken." Felt her breath falter. Rowan stepped closer, watching her face carefully. She turned the page. "You were born with a destiny I tried to delay. But the ancient force awakened for you is not your enemy. Not unless you choose to fear it. The calling is bound to you by creation, not curse. Protect it, or it will consume everything seeking your presence." His fingers trembled. "Protect it. The calling is a storm, a whispering force. It chases me." Leaned in, eyes wide. She wrote more, read on. Turned to the next entry, dated the night before the Queen's passing. Forgive me. You were never meant to face it alone. There is one who will anchor you. One chosen long before he knew he was chosen. Follow the one who walks away, for he is the only one the calling fears." Rowan's breath caught. Slowly lifted her gaze to him. "Rowan, she means you." He stepped back, stunned. "No, that can't be." Nodded slowly. "It explains why the calling weakens when he stands between it and you. It explains why it spoke more desperately when he left you." His voice shook. "Rowan, it didn't just fear you leaving me." She swallowed. "It feared losing you." Rowan stared at the floor, trying to steady the storm inside him. "I walked away because I thought it was safer for you." Closed the book gently, the last line glowing faintly as though alive. "If he turns from you, the calling grows. If he stays beside you, it yields." A tremor rumbled through the ground beneath them, snapping their attention upward. The windows darkened. The lavender scent vanished. A cold wind swept through the throne room. "Elara." The voice was no longer soft, no longer gentle. It was urgent, forceful, shaking the room from its foundation. Stumbled, it's manifested fully. Rowan grabbed her hand, pulling her behind him. "Stay close." But didn't move. Something deep within her, the part awakened by her mother's words, rose with sudden clarity. "No," she whispered, "we're done running." The calling roared through the chamber, a spiraling tempest of pale mist beginning to form before the throne. Stepped forward. Rowan's eyes widened. And the calling spoke again, trembling with emotion. "You finally returned." Lifted her chin. "I'm not returning," she said softly. "I'm understanding." The storm stilled, just for a moment. And that moment changed everything. The pale mist coiled in the center of the throne room, gathering itself like a memory trying to take form. Stood tall despite the tremor in her breath. The calling hovered before her, not wind, not spirit, but something older than both. Rowan kept one hand outstretched behind her, ready to pull her back if the slightest harm approached. Steadied himself against a pillar, awe and fear mingling in his eyes. "Princess, remember your mother's words. It is bound to you. It responds to your intent." Nodded slowly, "Then it will listen." The mist trembled, drifting closer. Not threatening, almost reverent, as though recognizing the shape of who she was becoming. The voice that rose from it was softer now, like a memory reaching across time. "You survived." Her throat tightened. "What do you mean, survived? I was a newborn when you were sealed away." The mist spiraled upward, forming a faint silhouette, never fully solid, always shifting. "You were born into two worlds, mine and theirs. Your mother hid you from what followed me. She chose silence. She chose distance. She chose the seal." Shook her head slowly. "You speak as if you were close to her." Rowan stiffened, held his breath. The silhouette flickered. I was. A cold shiver moved along spine. Not fear, but recognition of a truth she had sensed her entire life without knowing its shape. "What are you?" she whispered. The calling's reply came like a fading echo. "The part of her she sacrificed to give you life." His breath hitched. "My mother sacrificed part of herself." The mist pulsed gently. Her power, her voice, her bond to the ancient, all given so you could live without bearing what she bore. But the seal broke when you reached the age she did when the bond first awakened. 19. Felt tears gather, though she didn't understand why. Then why chase me? Why frighten the kingdom? The calling drifted closer, the light within it flickering like a heartbeat struggling to steady. "I did not wish to frighten you. I wished to reach you, to warn you, to return to the one who carries her blood. For danger follows me still, danger that wakes with your awakening." Rowan stepped forward. Danger from where, if something threatens her? The mist darkened sharply, trembling with sudden fear. "They are coming." The word shook the hall. Gripped his staff. "Who is?" The calling lowered, dimming as if bracing itself. Those who devour the ancient. They sought your mother. They seek you now." The seal kept them at bay. Without it, they crossed the mountains. Swallowed, images of the storm outside. The bending trees, the trembling earth, rushed through her mind. "How long do we have?" she asked quietly. The calling flickered weakly. "Hours at most." Rowan's jaw clenched. "Then we fight." Turned to him, surprised by the certainty in his voice. "We," she repeated. Rowan met her gaze. "Your mother wrote that the calling yields when I am near. If that's my role, then I stand with you." Nodded. "The vaults hold ancient defenses, but activating them requires both the princess and the one tied to her." His heart stirred with something fierce, courage maybe or understanding. "Then we go now, before they reach the walls." But the calling drifted between them, its form wavering. "I grow weaker. I cannot maintain shape much longer, but you must hear one last truth." Stepped closer gently. "Tell me." The mist stilled, glowing faintly. "If you fall into fear, they will claim your voice. If you deny your bond, they will claim your strength. But if you stand with the one who walked away, you will command what even your mother could not." Rowan's breath caught. His voice softened. "Then I will not let fear claim me, and I will not let him walk away again." The calling glowed, just once like a warm, fatting smile. "Then you are ready." The mist dissolved gently, scattering like silver dust across the floor. Silence settled, heavy with meaning. Rowan stepped beside her, shoulders squared. "Whatever comes, I stay." She looked up at him, fearful, hopeful, determined all at once. "Then we face them together." A distant roar echoed from beyond the castle walls, deep, resonant, and unmistakably close. Turned toward the sound, voice trembling. "They have arrived." Lifted her chin, courage rising like fire in her chest. "Then let them come." The roar outside the castle walls grew deeper, rolling through the stones like thunder that had learned to breathe. Rowan, and moved swiftly down the grand corridor, their footsteps echoing in tense unison. The torches sputtered as though recoiling from what approached. "Princess," said urgently, "the vault lies beneath the Hall of Ancients. If we activate the old sigils in time, the castle will stand a chance." Rowan scanned every shadow, every corner. "Then stay between us. If one slips through, it will go straight for you." Inhaled, steadying her heartbeat. "I'm not running anymore." They descended the spiraling stone stair into the vault chamber. As the heavy door closed behind them, moonlit crystals embedded in the walls began to stir with a faint blue glow. The air shimmered with ancient energy, humming like a song waiting to be remembered. Hurried to the center altar, its surface carved with a circular pattern of runes. "Princess, place your hand here. Rowan, you opposite her. The sigils need both your energies to wake." Rowan hesitated only for a heartbeat, then stepped into position. Met his eyes, seeing not the fear she expected, but resolve carved as deeply as the runes around them. "Ready," she whispered. "Always," he answered. They placed their palms upon the altar simultaneously. The vault blazed with light. Wind swirled upward, catching hair, tugging it like someone urging her to rise. The runes flared, each firing to life one after another, forming a ring of radiant symbols that lifted into the air. A deep vibration rolled beneath the floor, an awakening. Stepped back in awe. It works, it truly responds to the two of you. Felt warmth surge through her arm, not painful but powerful, like courage given shape. Rowan's hand trembled atop the altar, though he did not pull away. Their combined energy spiraled upward, striking the ceiling and spreading through the castle like a protective pulse. Then silence. A heavy, unnatural silence. Followed by BOOMs. The castle gates shuddered violently as something colossal struck them from the outside. Rowan stepped away from the altar, drawing her close. The barrier activated, but they won't stop. Nodded grimly. The do not retreat. They push until the ancient defenses fail. You must strengthen the bond. Frowned Howl. He looked between her and Rowan. By standing together, the calling recognized your unity, so must the castle. Before she could respond, the ground trembled again, this time more violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A low growl resonated from above, deeper than any beast she had ever heard. Rowan clenched his jaw. We go up. If the barrier weakens, we face them directly. Nodded, fear rising, but courage rising faster. They hurried back up the vault stairs, but as they reached the corridor, the air dimmed. Shadows clung to the walls like thick smoke. A cold whisper threaded through the silence. Found you. And Rowan spun around simultaneously. A towering figure materialized at the far end of the hall, taller than any human, body woven from living darkness. Eyes like hollow silver moons locked onto. Each step it took left the torches shrinking away. Rowan stepped forward, blade drawn, stance steady. You won't touch her. The tilted its head. Its voice was a layered echo. She carries what belongs to us. She must return. His pulse pounded, but she took a step toward Rowan, standing beside him. I belong to no one. The creature paused, sensing the shift, a resonance forming between her and Rowan. A golden light flickered beneath their feet. The sigils they activated began appearing on the stones around them, responding to their unity. Gasped, Princess Rowan, whatever you feel, hold on to it. The castle is listening. The lunged. Rowan moved instantly, blocking its strike, sparks flying as darkness clashed with steel. Reached out on instinct, grasping Rowan's free hand. Light exploded from the point of contact. The shrieked, staggering back as brilliant radiance burst through the hall, weaving around them like a living shield. The runes on the walls ignited, forming a dome of shimmering energy. The creature writhed, its form fracturing like shattered glass. No, it hissed, voice fatting. Together, you awaken what we cannot break. With a final burst of light, the dissolved into dust, swept away by a sudden, peaceful breeze. Silence returned. Then Rowan, still holding her hand, exhaled shakily. That wasn't just magic, that was you. She looked at him, breath trembling. No, it was us. Smiled softly, wiping tears from his eyes. Your mother knew, she saw this future, she believed in both of you. Squeezed Rowan's hand gently. You walked away once, she whispered. Please don't again. Rowan stepped closer, eyes steady, voice soft. Never again. Outside, the storm faded. Inside, the castle glowed with renewed life. And for the first time, felt not hunted, but chosen. Not alone, but anchored. The calling had awakened her, but unity had saved her. And the world would remember the day a princess and the one who once walked away stood together. And turned back the darkness,